So good morning, everybody. My name is Dan Kraft, and on behalf of everyone at Forum Europe, I'd like to offer you all a very warm welcome here to the second annual European Space Forum. So following last year's event, which for obvious reasons was held completely virtually, it's an absolute pleasure to now have for the first time the opportunity to welcome so many of you here in person to Brussels. And we're really looking forward to what I'm sure is going to be a very interesting, informative 2 days. So it's great to see you all here. And of course, I'd also like to extend a very warm welcome to the more than 600 of you who are joining us online via our virtual events platform. Again, we're delighted to have all of you with us as well. And we look forward to connecting you, hopefully, connecting with you virtually, both during the various sessions that we have taking place today, and also using the interactive discussion and networking tools that we have on the platform. In a second, it's going to be my honor to pass over to Forum Europe's chairman, Paul Adamson, who's going to be moderating this morning's sessions. But before we do that, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. So first of all, I wanted to say a big thank you to all of our sponsor and partner organizations for their support of the event. So you can see the logos on the screen behind me now. So there's too many of them to mention them all in person, but I would like to just say a specific thank you to our main event partners, GSOA and Eurospace, for all their support and guidance, and for the role that both have played in helping to make this event and to bring everything together. But as you can see, there are also a lot of other organizations who are involved in the event, and without their support, this really would not be possible. So again, thank you all very much for that. Next up, and particularly for those of you who are joining us online, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the virtual event platform and provide a bit of detail on that. So the platform at this hybrid event will work in exactly the same way as it has done at fully virtual events that we've held recently. And as well as being able to follow all of the sessions that are happening here, you also have the opportunity to submit questions and answers during the sessions via the virtual platform. You can do this using the chat area on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will be passing all of your questions on to the moderators. So please, we do encourage you to get involved and to be as active as possible. And of course, this request to get involved and to be as active as you can also applies to everyone here with us in the room in Brussels. I think one of the ways that we're really keen for this event to stand out from other space policy events that take place in Brussels is to really push the debate and the discussion elements. And in each session, apart from the keynote session, which is going to be starting immediately now, all other sessions will have a lot of time built in for discussion, for interaction, and for Q&A. So please, don't be shy, and we invite everyone here to get involved. I also just wanted to mention our hashtag for the event. So there is a hashtag which is being used, and you can see that on the screen behind me. It's hashtag EU Space Forum. So anyone who is going on Twitter or wants to tweet about the event or on social media, please do use that hashtag there. And finally, I wanted to briefly mention the European Space Policy Awards that we're going to be running alongside the conference here today. So another aim for the event here is to help celebrate some of the fantastically innovative projects and organizations that are at the forefront of sustainability and innovation within the European space and technology sector. So with this in mind, we are running 2 awards this year that's part of the event. So we have the Innovation in Space Award and the Sustainability in Space Award. And you can see the finalists that we have here on the screen again behind me. So the process of picking the winners actually began in spring when we asked for nominations from each category. So these nominations were narrowed down to the finalists, as I said, you can see on the screen. And we actually want to ask now for your help in picking the winners. So each of our finalists has recorded a short video outlining their solution or project and the benefits that it can bring. And you should all have received a link to that when you registered. But if not, for those of you online, you can see those on the platform. And for everyone here in the room, there's a display just outside in the registration area where you can watch those videos. And then we do want you to then vote, if you can, for your winners, for your preferred choice for that. And we'll be announcing the winners at the end of the day tomorrow. So to vote, you can use the QR codes which are around the rooms here. Please use those to vote. Or again, the link that's on the screen behind me to vote for your winners there. And as I said, we'll be announcing those towards the end of the day tomorrow. Finally, I wanted to mention our networking reception. So immediately following the conclusion of the proceedings today, we're delighted to have a networking reception, which is going to be hosted by SES, and we're taking place just outside the room. So we really hope as many of you as possible, again, can stay and join us for that and continue the discussions over a few drinks. So that's about it from me. We have a very busy couple of days ahead of us. So once again, just a very warm welcome to everybody. And I would now like to pass over to our moderator for this morning's sessions. That's our chairman, Paul Adamson. Paul, over to you.
Thank you, Dan, and welcome everybody as well. It's a great pleasure to see you all today, and thank you for your support for today's event. It's only our second edition of this space conference, and you already feel a certain momentum and vibe surrounding the whole proceedings, which is very, very exciting. So thank you all for being here, and all of you online. Before I introduce the 5 keynote presentations this morning, let me briefly set the scene for today's discussions and tomorrow's discussion. As we all know, the space sector in Europe today is facing an unprecedented number of challenges and opportunities, a rapidly evolving ecosystem, soaring global competition from within and outside the industry, major technological shifts, and now rising tensions, of course, caused by the situation in Ukraine. New commercial and geopolitical realities are challenging policymakers and industry to adapt their approach to space in order to protect European values and maintain its position as a global space leader. At this critical time, today's conference gives us an opportunity for a deep dive into these key themes and more. We will examine the innovative programs, initiatives, and policies that are being put forward, and the extent to which these are sufficient to enable Europe to embrace the new era of space that is now emerging. So we have 5 presentations this morning. There's one which is pre-recorded, 3 which are virtual, and 1, luckily for me, so I'm not feeling so lonely, a physical presence of a very distinguished speaker on the panel in just a moment. We're going to key up now the first presentation by Joseph Aschbacher, who is the Director General of the European Space Agency. As you all know, Joseph is a geophysicist by education. He joined the ESA in 1990. Throughout his career, has held various positions in different locations, even working for the European Union. In 2016, Joseph became the ESA's Director of Earth Observation and became the ESA's Director General in 2021. So let's now listen to Joseph.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you at the European Space Forum 2022. One of the priorities of ESA's Agenda 25 is the strengthening of the relationship between ESA and the European Union. We have been working very hard together to ensure that the relationship is based on a solid foundation, taking benefit of our complementarities, providing stability and predictability for the European space sector so that national, industrial and private investment decisions can be made with confidence. We have set up, to that effect, a new framework agreement among us. Europe, both the industry and the public entities and agencies, can look back with pride on decades of experience in development and implementation of ambitious space projects, as well as in international space cooperation with high-edge technology achievements such as the James Webb Space Telescope or, more recently, Artemis. Together with you, industry, together with our partners and in particular the European Commission, we have pushed European industry's capabilities to high performance. As an example, Copernicus is the most successful Earth observation program in the world, made possible by the cooperative efforts and budgets of ESA and the EU and the talents of European industry. Galileo, with EGNOS, has become the most precise navigation system worldwide, serving billions of users daily for the same reasons. Space is more than ever an integral part of getting Europe forward and making it more resilient. Next to other ongoing initiatives in Europe, the ESA Ministerial Conference in Paris at the end of November will offer governments an attractive package to invest into space with their industry driving this journey. Just to name a few proposals of the package, I would like to mention the new science missions, pushing the frontiers of knowledge forward with exciting missions to identify exoplanets or to explore further our galaxy, or the contribution to the Green Deal through Earth observation missions and new exploration projects to low Earth orbit the Moon and Mars. Also, in the coming months, we will work hard with our member states and the European Commission so that, along with industry, secure connectivity might become the next successful European flagship program. The European space sector has continuously created value and delivered scientific, technological, strategic, economic, and societal benefits to the European society and economy at large. Now, we need to go further, and we have two pressing issues. First, we have put commercialization as a key priority. Why does only 5% of the more than 12 billion euros of global private investment in space go to European companies? And why does Europe experience a much slower growth in private investments in space compared to the steep increase worldwide? We want to respond to these questions and enable and support the European space industry's journey to commercialization, to attract new investments and to accelerate the scale-up of private ventures on the global markets. We will leverage on our business incubation centers across Europe and on a growing network of private investors for our promising startups to become ready to enter the market and be business successes. Second, our industry is today confronted to severe crises, geopolitical, economic, financial, or environmental crisis, with harsh financial and industrial impacts in an environment that is always more competitive worldwide. Examples at stake are the growing inflation, the scarcity of components, the disruption in the supply chains, or the technology dependency. As we have supported industry during the COVID crisis, we will react to these current challenges with specific financial and procurement measures, and activities such as the EEE program, together with the ongoing industrial policy actions, will strengthen European non-dependence. And looking further ahead, we are developing the concepts and ideas of the 3 accelerators on Space for a Green Future, on rapid and resilient crisis response and protection of space assets, in consultation with the European Commission, so that together and through synergies of our respective initiatives and those of our member states, an innovative and competitive European space sector can continue to be fostered. Member states' support for the accelerators was clearly expressed at the ESA interministerial meeting in November 2021 and at the Space Summit, represented both the EU and ESA member states, held in Toulouse this past February. So indeed, in these times, more than ever, we need to work together with European governments, European industry, the European Commission and ESA for a robust Europe in this decade. The event of this year have made clear that there will be no sustainable future for our planet without space, and that space tools are indispensable for a strong and independent Europe.
Hear us, but thank you very much, Joseph, for making those introductory remarks for us. And now turn to our next keynote presentation from Evi Papantonio, who is the Acting Director for Space at the European Commission. Evi has been the Director General for Defence, Industry and Space DEFIS, responsible for EU space policy and EU space flagships, Copernicus and Galileo EGNOS. She is responsible in particular for actions supporting the EU aerospace ecosystem, as well as for relations with the European Space Agency and the EU Space Programme Agency. Until December 2019, Evi was the head of unit in the Director General for the Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship and SMEs, also known as DG GROW, responsible for legal and institutional aspects of Galileo EGNOS, the EU Satellite Navigation Programme. And previously, she contributed in setting up the EU Defence Fund and dealt with the EU response on countering hybrid threats. We're going to hear now, virtually but live, from Evi. Over to you, Evi, and thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a real pleasure to join you today lively in the second edition of the European Space Forum, gathering the space community from Europe and beyond. Virtually this time, unfortunately, I cannot be with you, but this event that you organized could not have been more timely. Space is at the heart of the public debate. As a cornerstone of resilience and security amid increasing geopolitical tensions, as a catalyst of growth, supporting the dual transitions, the green and the digital transition, as an arena for business innovation and exploration, and as such, it is an increasingly contested and congested area in need of global standardization and regulation. Today, I would like to elaborate on these aspects, focusing on the challenges we see and the priorities we set from a European perspective. It was said also by the previous speakers, space is a strategic sector of growing importance where big powers, including the EU, are competing to defend their interest and freedom to operate. On top of that, the new space revolution brought many new actors in the space sector with new business model, technologies, talents, and ideas. We see the miniaturization of space technologies and satellites, as well as multiplication of constellations, and the boom of space-based applications in many sectors of the economy. This revolution impacts both demand and supply for launch services. To stay in the forefront of the space domain, the European Union also needs to ensure its autonomous, reliable, and cost-effective access to space. It is a strategic objective at the core of the EU space program, which is the most ambitious yet. The events that have unfolded since the adoption of the EU space program back in 2021 have only highlighted the urgency for the EU action. The suspension of Soyuz launches from the French Guiana demonstrated that Europe needs to rely on fully European solutions. Europe must have real autonomous, reliable, and cost-effective access to space. It is a fundamental element of our sovereignty. It is an imperative for the autonomous deployment of Galileo, Copernicus, or future flagships, like the Secure Connectivity constellation. And for the first time, we're using the European Union budget to the extent possible to support the European launcher industry in the full chain. From the earliest research, for example, on new propulsion technologies, to acting also as an anchor customer with established players, but also emerging actors. I would like to zoom in two elements in particular. First, the way we're changing the way we do space business in Europe, and then the way we're strengthening EU resilience across the value chains. First, on the way we're doing space business. Europe is not short of a vibrant space ecosystem, but we need to ensure that it is kept in the European Union. With a collaboration with the European Investment Fund, but also our EU Space Programme Agency, and also in complementarity with the European Space Agency, as European Commission, we are working to make Europe the global hub for space entrepreneurship. It is in our interest to ensure that entrepreneurs are able to flourish here and do not have to seek funding and the future for their business elsewhere. That's why we have launched the Cassini initiative covering the full entrepreneurship cycle. The Cassini Seed and Growth Facility will deploy actually more than 1 billion euro to support space startups. And we have already started the first tranches of investment. So we invite venture capital funds from space and other sectors to invest in Europe. But also with the Horizon Europe initiatives from the research support, we bring together financing opportunities, technological support, and a broad range of initiatives to allow space entrepreneurs to develop in Europe. And from the European Commission point of view, we're ready to take more risk as a public institution to allow the EU to act as a major anchor customer and to better integrate startups and their solutions across Europe into our projects, such as Copernicus, which is in full modernization, and our in-orbit demonstration and validation program. At the same time, this Commission has taken concrete actions to strengthen the competitiveness and resilience of the European space industry throughout the value chains. First, we're taking steps to identify our dependencies. We set up the Observatory of Critical Technologies, which aims to identify, monitor, and assess critical technologies for space, defense, and related civil sectors, their potential application, and related value and supply chains. Secondly, we're working to strengthen the resilience along the value chains. Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced in her State of the Union address the launch of the European Critical Raw Material Act, because secure and sustainable access to critical raw materials is essential to deliver on our transition, but also, which is also relevant for the aerospace ecosystem. This would be complemented by plans to explore the creation of an EU sovereignty fund as set out by President von der Leyen. This will build on our ongoing efforts to increase Europe's strategic autonomy, taking them to the next level, including by mobilizing the necessary funding. As the President said, let's make sure that the future of industry is made in Europe. And the safest way to a prosperous future is also investment in our people. This is why 2023 will be the European Year of Skills. We're ready to engage with industry, space agencies, and academia to support the development of the right skills and knowledge in the EU space sector, paving the way for a greener, more digital and resilient economy. But I mentioned also resilience from space, which is strengthening resilience and non-dependence in the space domain is critical for Europe's growth and security. This concerns not only the security of supply chains, but also reliability of the services provided. Recent events like the Nord Stream leaks have shown how important space infrastructure and space-based services are essential for our security and defense needs. It is necessary to adopt a holistic approach to strengthen the resilience and protection of the EU space assets, but also to promote a more structured use of space data for better surveillance and protection of critical assets in other sectors. This is at the core of the Commission recent proposal to Member States for a Council recommendation on the protection of critical infrastructure, which is currently discussed with Member States. Because EU critical space assets, Copernicus and Galileo, can support Member States to monitor national critical infrastructures that can be affected by earthquakes, volcano eruptions, but also man-made threats. Space assets can be further used to develop other surveillance options. For example, the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service recently provided estimates of flux of methane resulting from the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines leaks using its atmospheric modeling capabilities. The forthcoming EU space strategy for security and defense will also propose concrete actions to strengthen the collective level of resilience of the European space infrastructures, looking at all angles from skills to international cooperation and value chains. The objective of the strategy will be to define a common European response to current and future threats to our space infrastructures, but also to ensure that EU space assets meet the needs of defense users. Consolidation of our existing space assets while developing new ones to face current and emerging challenges is the new way to move forward. This, of course, includes further evolution of our space flagship programs, Galileo and Copernicus, but as well as the upcoming Secure Connectivity program. It was mentioned by the previous speaker that Galileo, it is the best in the world satellite navigation system, and we are working in offering new services to make it even more performing, but also to deliver the encrypted signal, the public regulated service to meet the defense users' needs. I mentioned earlier the Copernicus, which is offered the excellent service as a benchmark to all world, the Earth monitor Earth observation images, and we are in full modernization to make it more agile and a hybrid constellation, onboarding more new space actors, but also we're working on how to be able to offer secure Earth observation services for government users. Let me conclude. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Breton underlined that the European Union should neither be, it's not about autarky, not about dependence, but it is about open strategic autonomy. The aerospace ecosystem is critical for the European Union's autonomy. That's why a number of space activities critical to the security of our citizens and of our networks, we will ensure that such essential functions can be performed in a secure way.